Hey everyone, Caront here, welcoming you back to Suikoden 5. In the last episode, we went here to Nirva Island to head off Skald Egan at the pass. Skald Egan is the ambassador of the island nations, and we went to talk to him for fear that he was going to go over to the side of the Godwins. As it turns out, that wasn't really a problem, but he did get us to help him with a problem while he was there, which was pirates that boarded up in an old lighthouse. They threatened to burn the whole thing down. Skald was about to let them, and then Bernadette, his officer, his daughter, interceded and had us go up there and just kick the pirates' butt, so we did. In this episode, we're going to head back to Falena, and there's a little bit of story that's going to happen, but mostly something else that I'm excited about. But before we do that, I realized when I was editing last time that we kind of forgot to talk about Bernadette, so let's talk about Bernadette for a moment, shall we? Bernadette is a long-range, basically a long-range Kyle, in a sense. She is a long-range fighter of sorts. She's not great. She's pretty serviceable as a fighter. But more importantly, she is a really good mage. She is especially good with water magic. So, like I said, basically a long-range Kyle. She doesn't quite have the fortitude as Kyle, of course. She can't take blows right up front, but that's why she's long-range. But she's still pretty good. She is a very serviceable fighter. She's a very good mage, particularly with that flowing rune that she already has. And in terms of just combat, she has a lot going for her. She's not going to be the greatest long range that we have because Sagiri's a better long range attacker, just straight out in terms of speed and power. And we're actually going to meet another one fairly soon who is in that category as well. But if you want a good hybrid, somebody who can hold up her end of the fighting and also be there to heal just in case and also to use some good magic damage when necessary, Bernadette's your gal. In army battles, Bernadette commands a 4-star rune archer unit, so basically she's another Sialeeds when it comes to that, so that is also always welcome. Alright, so now that we have finished up reintroducing Bernadette as an actual Star of Destiny with her profile and everything, we're going back to Falena, and hopefully we don't really need the Dramamine this time. Aye aye, your highness, the Elmalark will be ready to set sail shortly. Here goes nothing.
Your Royal Highness, welcome back. Whoa, what happened to you? You're all green in the face. And you too, Leon. Don't tell me the negotiations with the Island Nations Federation didn't go well.
Nah, they're just seasick.
Oh, right. So that's all, huh?
Well, compared to the trip over, the way back was a lot better. We're fine now.
There you go, that's the spirit. Conquer that seasickness with willpower!
Well, with that, Boz is in the party for some strange reason, I guess mostly just because we had to escort him back to the castle. But that's where we're due next, is the castle, specifically the war room. So, with no business to take care of here in Esterise, I'll see you guys back there. Welcome back, Friador. I heard it went well. How do you do? I'm Skald Egan's daughter, Bernadette. I'm here to help His Royal Highness Prince Friador. Unfortunately, however, I'm not here as an official representative of the Island Nations Federation. No, don't apologize. We understand the delicacy of diplomatic relations. We're pleased to have you in any capacity. The pleasure is all mine. Admiral Egan should be arriving in Falena right about now. They'll be docking in Hirschville to the west, so the ceremony should be starting pretty soon. So it's finally come, Little Lim's coronation, and Gazelle's official appointment as the new commander of the Queen's Knights. Since that's the official position of the Queen's husband, the Godwins will finally be able to take charge openly. We're in for some rough times ahead. Excuse me, Prince. May I enter? Well, you're kind of already here, actually. Oh, what's wrong? Why the long face? Oh, Prince. I know. You wanted to help the princess before she was forced into the coronation ceremony, right? I'm sorry I wasn't able to help. Forgive me. Well, let's go, Prince. Okay, I want to mention first off that the coronation ceremony, of course, you noticed some of the dignitaries that were there. Obviously, Solemn Barrows was there, looking like he just swallowed a rat. Then you had the Queen's Knights, Miyakis, and Galleon looking very sad, and then Zahaki and Alenia looking very intense. Then you had, on the other side, you had Skald Egan, you had Jidong Guisu, and another member of the Armes military whom we have not met yet. And if I'm not mistaken, you also had Milich, one of the generals of the, well, I mean later the Tauran Republic, but originally the Scarlet Moon Empire, of course, of Suikoden 1. So it's interesting to see a little bit of international flavor to the coronation ceremony. Also, I want to mention that in order to forward the plot from this point, you need to go into the war room to figure out what to do next. We, however, are not going to do that because you noticed on the graphic just after the coronation, the castle is finally leveled up to level 2, and I'm really excited because a lot of the stuff that I've been waiting to show off for you, now we get to show off because everybody's in familiar places, the castle has expanded, there's a lot more room now. And so now I'm going to talk about all this stuff. So I want to go ahead and make clear that there will be no further plot development today. I will not be recruiting any characters. We're just going to take a grand tour of the castle, darn it. Okay, and I'm going to start by getting everything out of here. All that stuff that we've been storing up, well, these get to wait, but all of the window sets, we can't do anything with the sound sets yet, unfortunately, so keep those in your inventory. And we can't do anything with the if you had a chef's just yet, or aquariums. But all the farm stuff, all the window stuff, grab it all because we're going to need it. And also grab all them books too because we finally get to drop those suckers off. Alright, I think I'm going to leave these in for the moment. I'm going to put the Sacred Gains and the Smile up in the Prince's room, and I'm going to put the Bonsais probably in his room too, just not quite yet. Anyway, grab all that stuff, and let's explore. Okay, first off, I want to go downstairs to the base of the tower, where we have Isabel and Matthias just kind of hanging out, doing their own thing. If we head over here, I believe this will take us directly, this will take us directly over to Zunda, to whom we can give all of our window stuffs. Yep, those are Sindar windows! And yeah, I assume they're human, but let's give ours to you. So window sets 2, 3, and 4. And 7, just for good measure. Of course, we already have window set 1, window set 2, 3, which, speaking of Milich and the Rose General, then you get 4 and 7. I tend to prefer 1 and 7, but I'm not going to change it right now. Over here you get the Oboro Detective Agency, which somehow is empty. Well, when these guys are here, I don't know why they're not here right now, but when they're here, you will be able actually to play a minigame with Fuyo. Sort of a... I can't think of how to describe it. Oh, shoot. I'll just have to show you later. But it's a tile game, basically. You match up the tiles, you get rid of them, the last person with tiles left loses. Alright, this room, nothing to do yet. The infirmary's in here, though. And we have Dr. Silva, Dr. Ramirez over there in the corner, just in case you want to talk to them. Moving on from here, these columns here. You can put statues on them. We don't have any statues yet, so nothing to put there. But we'll be on the lookout for them, of course. You can get regular statues and big statues if you get the chance. Then, obviously, take it from there. We've got, let's see, this is the room for the Rathfleet folks. And only Kisara's hanging out in there right now, unfortunately. Then, over here, we have the Mapmaker's room. Of course, Takamu is lording over that. But if you want to, you can actually pull up the map at any time, see where you are, and see where everything else in Falena is in relation to you, which, frankly, is pretty freaking welcome, because given the way that the world map is, and the way that you have to travel all over the place, particularly via the rivers of Falena, honestly, it's kind of hard to keep track of stuff. So it's nice that they have this so that you can keep track of everywhere you've been, including the circle around Lord Lake there. Interesting, even though Lord Lake is in the process of getting better, you notice, of course, that is recognition that it's not better just yet. Alright, now you notice I skipped over a room, because I want to actually spend a little bit of time here in the library. Hello, Libraria! We've got, obviously, Alhazred over there, and we've got Sorensen over here, too. So, let's see. Okay. Gears! Lots and lots of gears! Alright, so let's talk to Alhazred. Alright, yep, this will be your archive. Have fun. As it turns out, I've got plenty of old tomes for you. 1, 2, 5, 7, and 8. And we just happen to have 9 and 11 kind of hanging around. Tactical Guide to War if you need it, Trade Secrets if you need it, but we don't really need any of those. What I'm more interested in books are in books 1, 2, and 5. Book 1 is the story of creation. In the beginning, all that existed was darkness. For a long, long time, darkness lived in solitude, growing ever so lonely. Out of sorrow and despair, darkness shed a tear. From the tear were born 2 brothers, Sword and Shield. Sword claimed it could cut through all that exists. Shield claimed itself impenetrable. Thus the conflict was born, a truly vicious conflict lasting 7 days and 7 nights. In the end, Sword breached Shield, and Shield shattered Sword. Pieces of Sword rained down to make the sky. Pieces of Shield rained down to make the ground. Stars were created from the sparks of that battle. The 27 gems adorning Sword and Shield transformed into the 27 true runes, and thus began the world as we know it. Now this, of course, just like the creation story in this game, kind of relates to some creation myths that we see in religions around the world. And also, to some degree, this parallels back, I think, to Suikoden 2, because Suikoden 2, of course, has the Rune of Beginnings, and it ends up being split among Jowy and Ryu. Jowy gets the Sword Rune, and Ryu ends up getting the Shield Rune, with, of course, Ryu being the protagonist of the game. So, that to some degree you can see relating to that, and of course, obviously the rest of the true runes as well. Book 2 is the Sun Rune and the Night Rune. Long, long ago, the Sun Rune and the Night Rune were born into the world, their existences intertwined. They had a strong bond between them, as one controlled light while the other reigned over darkness. Before long, however, the Night Rune became annoyed by the dazzling brilliance of the Sun Rune. The Night Rune could stand it no longer. Turning itself into a sword, the Night Rune severed its bond between them and went off on its own. From the fragments of the bond left behind, the Dawn Rune and the Twilight Rune were born. Ever since the Sun Rune lost its other half, legend has it that these 2 new runes have remained by its side, acting as guardians. This, to some degree, I think helps explain a couple of other things. First off, why the Sun Rune tends to make its bearer crazy. I think because it is lacking the control of the Night Rune. Or because it's lacking the control of the Dawn and Twilight runes, which, of course, at the time of the story, both the Dawn and Twilight runes were missing. The Sun Rune, of course, was in the hands of Arshtot, but the other 2 runes that were supposed to control it were both gone. In addition, the Night Rune, of course it mentions cutting itself off and becoming a sword. That Sword Rune, or that Night Rune, is, of course, the same Night Sword Rune that we see born by Victor in Suikodens 1 and 2. I'm assuming it is that true rune. I have no reason to think otherwise, but of course feel free to correct me if I need correcting. Also, one other thing. Does the world of Suikoden actually have a name? I'm not really sure. Anyway, Book 5, The Royal Family Succession Conflict. This, of course, is going to be backstory for Suikoden 5 specifically. This tragedy started under the reign of Queen Olhazeda in the late 210s of the new capital calendar. Princess Falzram, second in line to the throne, began maneuvering to win over the majority of the Senate, wanting her sister Princess Sharawar to give up her right of succession and take it for herself. Rumor has it that the Barrows family was the real force behind all this scheming, as they had married one of their members to Princess Falzram. Because both Queen Olhazeda and Princess Sharawar's husbands were from the Godwin family, The Burrows family became terrified of the possibility of losing their influence in the Senate and royal family. Thus, they would use Princess Fallsrum in an attempt to seize the right of succession. It is unclear as to whether all, or even some, of these rumors surrounding the Burrows family are true. Regardless of the Burrows family's ambitions, however, it does appear that Queen Fallsrum herself really did have designs on the throne. The situation quickly grew antagonistic between the Godwin and Burrows families, each of whom supported one of the two princesses, and even the aristocracy that supported the two families got mixed up in the hostilities. Queen Olhazeta, once known for her brilliance and decisiveness, was getting old, and she no longer had the strength to resolve the situation. Armed force was never officially used, but a Cold War raged between the two factions, one that used every conceivable form of subterfuge. And what could be considered the culmination of this secret strife was the sacred games of Princess Arshtat. Even though Princess Sharawar's daughter, Haswar, was older than Arshtat and therefore had a higher priority of succession, Princess Fallsrum and Lord Burrows tenaciously persuaded Queen Olhazeta into letting them hold the sacred games for their own oldest child, Arshtat, before Haswar's sacred games. This was, of course, a strategy of Princess Fallsrum's to lend credibility to the idea that she herself was the predominant successor. But amazingly, the one who won Princess Arshtat's hand in marriage at these sacred games was a barbaric swordsman from a foreign land. Of course, that would be Farid. If either the Burrows or the Godwin family had won, the possibility of a rise to arms had been expected. This outcome then, ironically, led to a cooling down of the antagonism between the two factions. But that peace only lasted until 226, when Queen Olhazeta passed away. With the prospect of the actual throne so close at hand, antagonism was rekindled even before the mourning period for the queen was over, and that antagonism turned instantly into a bloody struggle. And throughout this struggle, Nethergate's nefarious influence was the cause of most of the bloodshed. Nethergate is usually under the direct control of the queen, but the throne was vacant during this time. And so Nethergate played both sides, executing assassinations for both Princess Sharawar's and Princess Fallsrum's factions. Nethergate's ultimate goal was to cling to power no matter which side is seated to the throne. In the end, though, their actions brought unprecedented bloodshed to the Sun Palace. This war of succession saw countless victims, as many from both the Godwin and Burrows factions were slain. In the end, even the husbands of the two princesses themselves were assassinated. Not wanting to see any more bloodshed, Princess Sharawar, not having a very strong personality by nature, lost the will to fight and gave up the throne to her younger sister. But Princess Fallsrum had grown suspicious of anything and everything. She thought that even this noble gesture of Princess Sharawar's might be a trick. Thus, she ordered Nethergate to assassinate her older sister. After acceding to the throne at last, Queen Fallsrum died of illness only 2 short years later. After all the bloodshed that had occurred, this ending was hardly dramatic. These years of internal conflict and intrigue have left a brutal scar on the Queendom of Falena. This scar will not easily, nor quickly, heal. But the princesses Arshtat, Syledes, and Haswar are determined to never repeat their mother's mistakes. Many feel that this will certainly be the Queendom's salvation. Oh, the irony. The irony indeed. It is worth noting, though, that some of the things that were mentioned way back at Lunos toward the beginning of the game maybe make a little more sense with that passage, hopefully, at least. Okay, so, moving on after all that reading, let's go ahead and go into the main lobby, to some degree, of the downstairs. This is going to be our kitchen, although it's not yet. There's Cornelio, being his usual mediocrity self, and, well, he's got 3 of the 5 Do-Re-Mi elves there. If he gets all 5, we can do an orchestra. Otherwise, not so much. There's Bernadette, obviously, and we've got, let's see. How you doing? Yeah, hi Nakia! And, well, we have no kitchen, so have fun worrying about your next meal. Over here, we've got the Dawn Times, which is the newspaper of the day, and obviously Taylor's the one doing it. You can look all the way back from issue 0, which is when we had gotten Taylor, all the way up to issue 7, which has to do with the coronation and the like, so even an editorial position on the coronation and the status of Princess Limslia, now technically Queen Limslia. If you want to get over to another part of the castle, you can go through here and go through a detached corridor, and you will have made your way to the other side of the castle, which honestly, there's not really a whole lot to it particularly, so at least not right now anyway. Nobody in here. We go upstairs though, we'll find a little bit more waiting for us. Hello! Lun's down here. Hi, what are you doing? Why are you even over here? And more importantly, for our purposes, not only do we have beavers hanging out here, but the pier has moved. I don't know how it moved halfway around the castle just by the water dropping, but, well, here it is, just in case you want to do any fishing or traveling or anything like that. There's another section of the castle that's opened up also, and I want to jet over there real quick before we drop off our last stuff to Ghosh, who is doing some farming. Actually, let's drop the stuff off first, never mind. Let's go over here. And this will take us, of course, over to, you might have noticed a little plot of land that opened up down here. So head this way. And, well, oh, come on, where are you? There's Ghosh. Hi. How you doing? You're mad at Lord Godwin. That's no surprise. And now he tells us we can do farming. Yay! That, of course, is why we've been buying all those plants to begin with. So just bring some seeds and saplings and he's good. Now let's drop them all off. We drop off the melon, grape, onion, cabbage, potato, and red peppers. And that is 6 of the 8 plots that we can fill up, so we got most of them already. Now, why, you might ask, would you want to do this? Well, you're not going to be able to get food straight from Ghosh, but what's going to happen is once we get our cook, we pretty well know who that is already, but we're not getting him just yet. But once we get our cook, he will basically, Ghosh meaning, will pretty much take that food over to Retso, and Retso will cook that food in some really tasty healing items, which honestly are a lot better than anything you can buy, and a fair bit cheaper too. Unfortunately, we can't go in here, not yet. You also notice there's some more room for the castle to grow just because that bridge is underwater there. It's kind of odd that that's sitting there. Anyway, now that we've dropped all that off, let's go over to the other area of the castle that we can explore. There's a fair bit to look at. Not a whole lot, but a fair bit, and it'd help if I'm going the right way. Good job, mate. Alright, now, cross the bridge. Now, of course, the inn we've seen before, so that's nothing new. But what I want to point out is we got a couple of additions to the inn. For one, the Lindworm Mercenary Cavalry have decided to hang out in one room together where, well, Wilhelm can be his usual womanizing self, Mueller can be stoic and staid, and Richard can drool over Mueller all day. Unfortunately. Okay, you got Linfa there if you want to play Blind Man's Bluff with her, or Shigur, or Jean. Have fun with that. You don't really get much. I mean, you get prizes, obviously, from Blind Man's Bluff, but nothing vital, I guess. To some degree, though, the fact that, well, our good friend Egbert Ethelbald has moved over here betokens the fact that we've opened up another minigame. It is, well, they say it's a war game, but the way that they label it in the game is checkers. Now, I'm not going to go over the rules. There are 3 types of checkers game. There is, well, checkers, which is, as you might imagine, a game where you play checkers. You pop over your pieces, you take other pieces, and etc. Now, what is important about this version of checkers is, unlike other versions of checkers, you can go backwards and not sideways, but you can go back diagonally and forward diagonally as you wish. So that's interesting. Of course, if you get below 2 pieces, you lose, so just FYI. Entrapment is it's kind of, well, I mean, it's not hard to explain, I guess. The idea with entrapment is you're supposed to entrap your opponent's pieces. If you get more than 1 piece around, essentially to the sides of a piece that you're trying to get, you will take that piece and it will vanish from the board. If you get your opponent down to essentially 2 pieces or less, you win the game. It's fairly simple all in all, but the fact that you can move vertically and horizontally as many spaces as you want does add some strategy to it. Then there's Conqueror, which is effectively a jumping game. You have to get all of your pieces over to the other side of the board, in other words, to their starting position, before they can get all their pieces over to your starting position. You can jump vertically, horizontally, or diagonally to do it, but the key is getting everything in place before your opponent can. Out of all of these games, you can earn playing pieces. We have only one playing piece right now, of course, so yay us. But you can win up to, I believe, 111 pieces. The 108 Stars of Destiny, plus 3 extra pieces that you can win only on hard once you get the rest of the 108. If you get, I believe, all of the 108 pieces, the original ones, you can get an epic skill out of this, which explains the why would you want to do this in the first place bit. It's not a great epic skill, and I think it's also a little bugged because I actually managed to get all 111 pieces, and I didn't get it, meaning in my test run. So I'm not exactly sure what triggers it. Maybe it's just the first 108, but still, that's a game that you can play if you want. If I do want to go after that epic skill, I'm going to do it off time because I don't want y'all to have to witness all of that. Maybe I might play a game or two on camera just so you guys can see them, but not yet because we've already toured a fair bit of the castle as it stands and I want to go ahead and get everything in. Alright, so we opened up this rotunda, I guess you'd call it. I'm not sure exactly what the architectural term for this specific type of building is, but we can go into a variety of different rooms. We've got Josephine, who, well, being the prima donna that she is, gets her own room, even if she hasn't done anything to decorate it yet. Kind of weird. We've got a hallway here, which I'm going to go into in a minute to show you a little bit more. Then we've got an empty room here, but I want to go ahead and go in, because this eventually is going to be our bath when we get our bath person. Well, bath beaver, I guess. That should pretty well tell you who that is, too. Then we have a room for Barrows. But Lucerina's not in it. Lucerina is always in the main hall. The question then is, who would be in this room, pray tell? I have a feeling you can probably pretty well guess, but I'm going to keep that under wraps because this will happen much, much later in the game. Alright, so now let's go into the base of the round hall this way, and you get a few other rooms that we can go in. You've got the folks in Sable here, and poor Dine's by himself right now. This room doesn't have anybody in it yet. This room is Lord Lake, so we can go in there, and poor Toma's the only one in there, because Ghosh is busy farming, and Talgil, I guess, is somewhere else, I don't know. You've got the bandit hall there, and as it turns out, all 3 bandits are hanging out right now. Roy, Phelan, and Phelan, so if you want to chat any of them up, there they are. Lastly, for this hall, we have a nothing room, so we'll obviously open that up later, but not quite yet. If we go down this way, we got the Lelkar room with the otherwise unmemorable Wassel, Orok, and Volga hanging around if you want to chat with them. Then, heading down here, we have another nothing room, which will eventually get filled up, so, you know, there you go. I mean, it's pretty useful all in all. A quick note that I actually didn't really think about until I was... Well, I previously filmed this episode, and then it screwed up because of my goofs, so I had to refilm it. But you can go through here, and you go straight into the base, which is nice, because it sure cuts down on travel a lot. That's definitely certain. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to think if there's any major rooms that I haven't shown off yet. Obviously, nothing aside from the base has opened up here, except more water. Well, less water, rather. So, there's not really much to show off here. I will add, in the recruitment that we're going to be doing, we will be getting characters who will help fill all this out. So, alright. So, I guess to end things off, I'm going to go ahead and read some letters, because it's been a long time since we have. The Ethelbald family from Lucerina. I'm pretty sure I heard that my great-grandmother was of that family, so I guess that would make Egbert one of my distant relatives. Maybe you can give him his legacy back somehow. I mean, he was hanging around in the freaking sewers of Stormfist. A comment box? You don't need this thing. If your people have something to say, they should walk up and say it. Alright then. Lord Roveray from Talgil. Quite the avid reader. He owned several valuable books, but they were all lost during the Lord Lake Uprising. That's truly unfortunate. I love books. I love reading, and I hate that anything like that gets destroyed, particularly on purpose. It would have made Alice Red so happy if even a few of those tomes resurfaced. What a shame. Oh, whoops, I didn't mean to re-cue it. Art appraiser from Cornelius, so... Only the foulest mediocrity would stoop to putting a price on a work of art. He's rubbed me the wrong way since I first encountered Hard Village. He and I will have to have a talk. Mediocrities! Sorry, I had to. Kelly! Hi, Lorelai. He gets all the way to those ruins and then he just leaves. What's he up to? Shinro. He said he had questions about Konoken. I hear he wants to do business with other lands. It must be related to that. Alright, so you notice those letters seem a little old? Well, if we go back out and talk to it again, we get more new arrivals. 10 of them. Bernadette apologizing for some reason. While my father offers his support to your highness, he intends to attend the coronation. Please try to understand. From an official standpoint, it simply would not do for the island nations to refuse the invitation. We ask that you remember our wholehearted support for your highness. No problem. Then, a cave? I didn't know anything about the cave your highness and Jean went in. Now I'm quite ashamed of all that bragging about making the most accurate map of Falena ever. Boy, just wait till we go into other territories. Josephine! Her sensibilities are far beyond my ability to appraise, therefore I have nothing to say. Yet you wrote a letter. Bullying! Uh-oh. Lorelai keeps picking on me. I don't know why. I've never met her before in my life, I swear. This actually relates to Vicky as a mage and Vicky as a recurring character in Suikoden and Vicky time traveling and teleporting and her getting a little scatterbrained. I think she and Lorelai met maybe in a side Suikoden game of some sort. I remember seeing an image from it, but I don't remember the name of the game itself, I'm afraid. Then, boss. The boss my father saw was Gino? What an odd turn of fate. And very brief, man. Then the Ethelbald family from Takamu. Maps from 100 years ago clearly show that Stormfist and the Hirschville naval base were Ethelbald domains. Okay, well, there's your justification there, Egbert. Cyro from Wassel. My father had business dealings with him. Cyro's been around that long. I remember my father saying he was quite aggressive, but got the job done. Well, that's good. And that's not what I wanted to do. The swordsman of the final match, from Murid. So he and that end girl are back together with your highness again, are they? I was afraid he would have side effects from that strange drug, but I'm relieved to see he seems fine. Yes, he's pretty darn good. We like him a lot. Some mysterious connection, again from Vicky. I've met Jean before, lots of times, in lots of different places. I wonder why we keep bumping into each other. Because you're connected by the runes. Lastly, Roy from Taylor. Well, I wanted to write something a little more specific. The problem is our newspaper sells so well. I didn't want the Godwin side to find out about your highness's decoy. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, the idea of information control is definitely necessary when it comes to something like this. Just from the standpoint of fighting a war, you don't want to reveal too much to your enemies. Okay, that's it for the comment box. And that's going to be it for today's episode. Next time on Suikoden 5, we're going to begin a crap ton of recruiting. And when I say crap ton, I mean 12 characters. Whoa. It's going to take a little bit, not sure how many episodes exactly, but we're going to get some pretty good ones in the midst of all that. So, thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see y'all later.